Welcome into Outkick the Show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you have had fantastic Thursdays wherever you live across this great country or this great land. Lots to get to. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me. And right off the top, I want to say thank you for having us as the highest rated sports talk radio show in the entire country all week and for much of the month of July. That's pretty incredible. Again, there are people who have podcast unique shows, but so far every day of this week, we have been the #1 sports talk radio podcast in the country. And as if that were not enough, the audio version of this show has been in the top 20. We're going to set another record in July. The audience for this show is just exploding, and that is thanks to you guys, all right? So, a lot of different things to dive into today as we run through all of the different storylines. But right off the top, I want to tell you to go sign up for Outkick the Show, and in particular on podcast, and Outkick the coverage on podcast. But I also want you to sign up for Outkick VIP because we made another all-star addition to the Outkick team this morning. If you haven't heard it already, we added Dr. David Chow at Pro Football Doc on Twitter. He is going to be absolutely phenomenal all season long, breaking down everything there is to do with injury issues in sports, also everything surrounding the coronavirus. I'm not sure that there has been any better time when having the preeminent sports doctor in all of media on your team could have ever made more sense. And right now, we are absolutely killing it at Outkick. So I appreciate all of your support. Go follow at Pro Football Doc if you don't already. Incredible job analyzing in real-time injuries. He used to be the team physician for the then San Diego Chargers. He is going to, I believe, dominate for us all through the fall and beyond, both writing and doing podcasts. Remember, we're going to debut a brand new podcast network starting in August. And that podcast network is going to be phenomenal. Jason Whitlock's podcast will debut, and many more as well. And so there's a lot to get to, and I can't wait to see what the growth rate is going to be for Outkick. We are growing, much to the Corona Bros' dismay, exponentially, and we are one of the only things that is growing exponentially in this environment right now. Somebody just said, I happened to look over, that we are adding incredible 5-star talent at Outkick, and that is, in fact, the truth. All right? So, let's run through the coronavirus. The cases are up, deaths are down. This was the storyline. It continues to be the storyline. We have basically turned the coronavirus into an incredibly low death rate disease, with the vast majority of people that are testing positive for it having no ill effects or having minor ill effects at best. The numbers, it appears, and again, I'm not an expert on analyzing these numbers because it's difficult to tell on a day-to-day basis, but it appears the numbers in Arizona have begun to decline already. It appears the numbers in Texas may well have begun to decline. And there is certainly a suggestion that the numbers in Florida have begun to decline as well. And so, look, I don't know how to answer this except to say you can't stop a virus from existing. And so if you look at Europe and you look at New York and New Jersey, there appears to be a point that you need to hit in order for the virus to then hit some form of herd immunity. And it appears that the numbers don't have to be that high. Initially, people were like, oh, you need 60 or 70% in order to get to that ratio. I'm not sure that that is actually accurate, because if you look at New York and you compare it to other parts of the United States, and you compare it, let's say, to Italy, to France, to Britain and all those places, it appears that there is a significant impact around 15 to 20% on the infection rate in terms of that hitting the tipping point. We'll see. The more important thing is, if you look at Arizona and you look at Texas and you look at Florida, it appears they learned what not to do by seeing what Andrew Cuomo did in New York, by seeing what Gretchen Whitmer did in Michigan, by seeing what the governor of New Jersey did in Massachusetts, in Illinois. You can't put infected patients back into nursing homes. So that is, I believe, a substantial issue here, all right? This is when you actually break it down, as long as you don't make the decisions that Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Michigan, Illinois, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, all of the states that have massive death rates, as long as you don't put infected patients back into a scenario like happened in those states, it appears the death rate's going to be minimal. Now, I tweeted out a video the other day of a doctor who was on CNN in Florida from Tampa, and he said the overall death infection rate, that's people that they know have the virus, is under 1% now in Tampa. If it's under 1% in Tampa, considering that we only, according to the CDC, are catching 1 in 10 of all viral cases, that means the death rate survival now is approaching 99.9%. All right? So that is a significant factor as well as we continue to chase down all of the details there. But we'll have to wait and see. These surges in those states began over 2 weeks ago. The death rate has not taken off in a New York-like level so far. Will it? I doubt it, because the policies in place in now are a lot different than what those states put in place, but we'll have to wait and see. So New York level death does not appear to be occurring in Florida, in Arizona, or in Texas so far. All right, so several other different things that I want to hit here. What about this Redskins drama? Have you guys been paying attention to all of the reports? Like, I don't like this, right? When everybody starts hinting at something that's coming and doesn't actually tell you what is coming. All these different media people have started to say, oh, the Redskins are in trouble. If that's true, this is the worst investigation in the history of journalism, because it's all over Reddit message boards exactly what the allegations are. It's all over social media. The Redskins are already trending. If you go into Twitter, and the Washington Post story isn't even out yet. I don't know who was investigating this story, but did they do it on open source mechanism? I don't really understand exactly what is going on here, but it seems like it is out there everywhere. And this makes me think that's why Dan Snyder decided to change the Redskins name. And this is why all the minority shareholders made the decision that they want out. And I'll just toss this out. I've said it before. I would love to see Dan Snyder just explode everybody's brain by not only changing the Redskins name, but also by going and signing Colin Kaepernick. Because how would the woke media respond if on the day before this Washington Post story broke, suddenly Dan Snyder signed Colin Kaepernick? It would be incredible just to see the reaction, because their head would be put into a blender. They'd have no idea what to do. He changed the name Redskins, and he went and signed Colin Kaepernick. He should be the left-wing liberal absolute hero. Instead, right now, Dan Snyder is about to become a pariah. So we'll have to see what exactly the play is. But the ultimate incredible pivot move by Dan Snyder here right now would be to go out and make the decision to grab Colin Kaepernick, just to see what everybody else is going to be able to say about it in the process, okay? That would be pretty interesting. Look, NASCAR. Let's talk about NASCAR. I can't believe this is not getting more attention. Yesterday, NASCAR had over 20,000 fans present for their race in Bristol. This is the first time we've had a massive crowd for a big sporting event since March. And I don't understand why this is not receiving more attention in the media. People are like, oh my God, we can't play college football in September. And I'm like, wait a minute. We just had over 20,000 people watch a race in Bristol in July. Why can't we have crowds present, or at least play games with no crowds present at all in the SEC if we're having over 20,000 fans, 30,000, whatever the final number was? I watched it on television because I wanted to see the return of fans. Why isn't this a huge story? It seems like a monumentally massive story to have fans back in the crowds and have games going again. And I don't understand this obsession with college football. I'm going to keep hammering this because I think it's important, all right? Right now, by August, we are talking about these sports either playing or being back playing. NBA, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, PGA, WNBA, UFC, NWSL, some of these leagues you don't even know. The PBA, that's the Professional Bowlers Association, boxing and NASCAR. All of them are going to be back. Let me repeat them one more time. There's a lot of them. By August, NBA, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, PGA, WNBA, UFC, NWSL, PBA, boxing, and NASCAR. All of those sports. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 sports that will be back by August. MLB, I believe, is not even in there. Make it 13. I don't know how I forgot MLB. MLB is going to be back on this day next week, all right? So all of these, when you actually look at them, all of these sports are going to be back. The reason why college football has become the focal point is because the Corona Bros have lost the battle in all 13 of those sports, and they are coming back, all right? 13 different sports are coming back. And I don't even understand. I'm going to lay out the arguments, all right, against why college football should return, all right? I'm going to pretend that I am arguing for the other side, and then I will come back, all right? Kentucky Derby as well. I should add that one. I'm going to add the Kentucky Derby I just saw in the comments. All right, the most common reason why I am seeing someone argue that players can't come back is they say it's not safe, okay? People say it's not safe. And not safe basically breaks down into two different categories. It's not safe for the players, and it's not safe to play football, okay? So let me unpack this a little bit. Dr. Chow came on this morning on the radio show and laid out the angles of football, all right? So let's focus on the players themselves. And this is key because I never hear anybody argue this. If you are concerned about the health of players, aren't they safer on campus than they would be off campus? And let me explain by what I mean. If you're like, oh my God, these guys are going to die, why are they more likely to die on campus where they're getting tested weekly and where they are surrounded by medical professionals than they are off campus at home in a condo, an apartment, or a home with their parents? There is no argument that I can see of why the danger is greater for college athletes on campus. But that's the number one argument. Oh, it's not safe. Well, life is not safe. Explain to me why, when you actually look at the data, the danger would not be greater for athletes off campus than it is on campus. And in fact, Cornell did a study that is interesting about this. Cornell said that they found, this ties into kids needing to be back in college. Kids said on a college campus, Cornell said that if kids aren't in class, if they are learning remotely, everybody is going to show up in the college town anyway, live in their apartments, live in their off-campus housing because they don't want to be stuck at home with mom and dad. So many of these college towns are going to end up with a lot of college kids anyway. And if you're not testing them as a part of the college experience, then they are likely to get higher rates of infection off the campus than they would be if classes were open. This is an interesting study from Cornell, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. I don't know how many of you are college kids that watch or listen to this, but if I were a college kid, the last thing I would want to do for an entire year is sit in my house and watch school on the computer with no friends around in my parents' house, living in my bedroom. I went to school in Washington, D.C. I lived off campus. I would rather go back up to Washington, D.C. and live in my off-campus apartment and be close to all my friends in college than I would stay back home by myself. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. You need to think about it. Another argument is that older people are not safe around younger people. Now they've moved on because they've looked at the data and they know it's hard to argue that young people are in danger from the coronavirus. So they're like, yeah, but older people are in danger. Well, if you're an older person with a significant health risk, you shouldn't be on a college campus this year. Basically, if you're over the age of 65 and not healthy, okay, health matters a big deal because Nick Saban is 68, but Nick Saban probably tests like a 55-year-old would, right? Nick Saban's working 80 hours a week. I'm sure that Nick Saban is likely to be much healthier than your average 50-year-old, even though he's almost 20 years older. So I don't understand why the argument is that you can allow younger people who have no risk, but you can't just tell the older people to quarantine. This is my bigger argument in the country at large. I've been saying this for months. To me, the best way to get over the coronavirus is not to wait for a vaccine that may or may not ever materialize and work well. It's to get the young people infected with the virus while the older people stay away and quarantine themselves. That's what should be happening on a college campus. It's going to spread widely on a college campus when these kids get there, okay? So that is another argument. I don't even know any other data point. Can one of you tell me in Facebook or in Twitter what the arguments are for additionally why college football shouldn't be happening? I hear, oh, it's too dangerous, but the danger is the same no matter where the kids are. I want a legitimate argument for why college football can't happen based on college campuses being more dangerous. The teachers, janitors, I just addressed that. The teachers, janitors, and other staff are not in danger unless they're old and have major health issues. And if they do, then they don't need to be there. Okay, professional versus amateur. This doesn't make sense either. The professionals are getting paid, yes, but the amateurs, many of them, are hoping to one day get paid. And we're not insisting that players have to play, okay? If you believe that you are under risk and don't want to do it, it's already been announced that you can keep your scholarship and not have to play a sport at all if you or your parents are concerned about your health. So that doesn't make any sense at all to me when you actually look at the data. There have been, I believe it's 150 kids under the age of 24 who have died, 30 under the age of 15 in the entire country. And so you are far more likely on a college campus to die from alcohol poisoning. I believe there are 1,845 alcohol-related deaths every year on a college campus. You are nearly 10 times as likely to die from alcohol poisoning as you are to die from the coronavirus. So again, amateurs, yes, but they get to choose whether they play or not. And I think 99% of college kids who are playing college football would say, yes, I want to play. Okay? So that is the argument. And again, people keep saying, well, if a death happened, the deaths could happen if kids aren't on campus. I can spin that and argue that a death is more likely for a college kid off campus where they don't have health care and they don't have testing than it is to happen on a campus. When you argue, oh, someone might die off campus, and the odds of death off campus to me seem actually more substantial because most of us don't get tested weekly and most of us don't have access to medical professionals every day and most of us aren't getting our temperature taken every day. So if you actually look at all the facts here, the safest thing that could happen is for college football players and college athletes in general to be on campus in protocols getting tested on a regular basis. This just doesn't make any sense, okay? So I don't buy into these arguments at all. Now, I want to give, so I haven't seen any other argument than the ones I addressed. And if you really break them down, all of those arguments lack substance. They lack legitimacy, they lack factual basis, and they don't withstand any sort of rigorous examination, all right? So, Zion bubble issues. This is an issue for the NBA. Zion had to leave the bubble because of issues related to family conditions. I don't know what those are, family issues. But now he has to, when he returns to the NBA bubble, reacclimate to the bubble in some way before he's able to go back out. He has to quarantine. This is interesting because you compare it with Major League Baseball, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on the radio show. Major League Baseball took a different route than we saw with the NBA. Major League Baseball is staying in the home markets. They're traveling. They are also going to continue to allow people to live their lives without having to go into a bubble environment. It seems to me like the NBA rigged the rules to try to hopefully get Zion in a first-round series against the Lakers because they want the baton passed from LeBron to Zion so that Zion can become the next big NBA star as LeBron James ages out of the league. But so this is a strange sort of scenario in general because every time a player leaves, including if they have to leave during the course of the playoffs or during the season, they're going to have to reacclimate and re-quarantine. Now, I saw the data, and correct me if I'm wrong here, they said that there was only a 4-day requirement, if I'm not mistaken. Just a 4-day requirement in order for Zion to be there before he has to go back and can start playing again. I don't understand why some quarantines require 14 days, some require 7, some require 4. It doesn't make any sense at all. No, Zion did not test positive. He's leaving the bubble, but before you can come back in the bubble and interact with anybody else on the NBA facilities, you have to re-quarantine once you leave and go and interact with the rest of society. I want to give props here. I want to give props here to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There has been a noticeable and incredible hypocrisy from NFL and NBA players as it pertains to anti-Semitism. If you remember when Malcolm Jenkins came out, the leader of the NFL's Player Coalition, and was asked about Deshaun Jackson, he said that anti-Semitism was not the problem of him and that it distracted from black-related problems. This is utterly indefensible. We also had Dwayne Wade back Nick Cannon, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, wait a minute, you can't only be opposed to racism when you are the victim, right? It's not enough to only focus on issues of black racism and not be interested in anti-Semitism or also in issues of racism in other parts of society. I've got a radical idea that I think would fundamentally alter the way we talk about race in this country. And that idea is this: black people, white people, Asian people, and Hispanic people can all be racist. The way we talk about racism in America today is only white perpetrators and only black victims. We almost never even mention Hispanic and Asian people. We all never even consider, by and large, the idea that black people could be racist. Every race has racists in it. This is a 100% definite fact. And so the goal should be for everyone out there to spend less time only worried about themselves and more time trying to guarantee that the society as a whole are actually all working towards a society where all of us can be treated equally under the law, which we are, and in society as a whole. All right? So this idea that we have in the social justice warrior community is that they're not paying attention, and or they may even be racist themselves against Jewish people. And when that hypocrisy is pointed out, nobody wants to actually address it. And so this in and of itself is a major flaw in the way we talk about race in America. And I give credit to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If you haven't read his piece, it's a really smart piece analyzing that perspective on behalf of athletes, that there needs to be consistency of application. You can't have a Malcolm Jenkins saying anti-Semitism is not our problem and that racism and prejudice against Jewish detracts from larger issues. That is not a good look at all. All right, I appreciate all of you My name is Clay Travis. Outkick the Show is what this is called. My morning radio show, Outkick the Coverage. Highest rated on iTunes for most of the month of July. Highest rated right now for all sports radio shows in the country. I encourage you to go all check it out. Go check out Outkick.com. Sign up for the VIP. I love all of you. Let's get college football back. Don't allow the Corona Bros to win. The truth of the matter is this. Some people say, well, what's the impact going to be? I'm going to be fine. If college football doesn't come back, all those other sports are going to be going on. I'm going to be fine. You know what's going to happen? The NFL is just going to slide into college football's Saturday game windows, and they're going to play a lot more NFL games on Saturday than before. There's absolutely no issue to me. My business is going to continue to dominate. If sports shut down, my business is going to continue to dominate because we got a ton of talent. We're going to continue to kill it. But the truth of the matter is, this is hypocrisy, and there are lots of people who work in college athletic departments that aren't going to be fine. They're going to get laid off. A lot of people are going to lose scholarships who play something other than football or basketball. These athletic departments, in order to be in any way able to make their budgets, need to have some form or fashion of a football season. And since football is not a pure capitalistic endeavor, the money goes to all the other different scholarship athletes, whether it's women's divers or men's track or baseball or whatever else. And so this idea, again, I just want to hammer it home one more time, that we could have MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, NBA, NBA's in here twice, MLS, PGA, WNBA, UFC, NWSL, PBA, boxing, NASCAR, the Kentucky Derby, and the Indy 500, that all of those could be taking place this fall, but we can't have college football. It actually makes no sense at all. So this is absolutely absurd. All right, love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I'm Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. Go check out Outkick.com. Sign up for the VIP. I appreciate all of your support. Thanks for making us the #1 sports talk radio show podcast in the entire country. I'll see you guys. Bye. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.